ethical future, building a new shared perspective. Welcome to this space for reflection. Today, more than ever, our world is facing urgent and radical challenges that affect every aspect of our lives, from work to the environment, from social relationships to global governance. It is time to build a new perspective, one in which the shared pursuit of the common good and collective awareness become the foundation of a future that can finally be defined as ethical. But what does it mean to live in an ethical world today? How can we rethink our daily actions and social, economic, and political structures so that ethics is not just an abstract concept but a guiding principle that permeates every decision, every choice, every relationship? Ethics as tension and as a goal. The first thing we must understand is that ethics is not a fixed goal to be reached once and for all. Rather, it is a continuous tension, a movement toward an objective that is never fully attainable but that guides us, orients us, and pushes us to act responsibly, consciously, and justly. Ethics, therefore, is not limited to theoretical reflection but is realized through daily actions and choices that have a tangible impact on our lives and those around us. In this sense, ethics translates into a collective objective, one that must be pursued by all. It is not just about individual well-being but about prioritizing the good of everyone. The common good must cease to be an abstract notion and become a tangible reality, a principle that shapes our social coexistence, our way of working, consuming, and producing. Now is the time to reconsider and redefine our relationship with the environment, labor, and society itself, starting with a concrete commitment to a fair and sustainable future. The common good in environmental, labor, and social terms. To talk about ethics today necessarily means talking about sustainability in all its forms. The climate crisis we are experiencing forces us to reflect urgently on how our daily actions impact the environment. We can no longer afford to live as if natural resources were infinite, consuming without considering the consequences for future generations. An ethical future must begin with deep reflection on environmental sustainability and the urgent need for a radical shift in production and consumption models to preserve the planet for those who will come after us. However, environmental sustainability is not the only issue at stake. Another fundamental pillar of an ethical future is labor. We live in an era where the labor market is in constant transformation, precarious employment, youth unemployment, wage inequalities, and difficulties in balancing professional and personal life affect millions of people worldwide. Ethics, in this context, must translate into a new vision of work, ensuring that employment is not only a means of survival but also a path to personal fulfillment. Work should be fair, respect people's rights, value talent and effort, and simultaneously be mindful of environmental and natural resource limits. Finally, ethics involves society as a whole. In an increasingly interconnected world, we can no longer ignore social inequalities and injustices that persist on a global scale. An ethical future means building a society where social justice, human rights, gender equality, and inclusion are fundamental values. It is necessary to work toward reducing inequalities and creating spaces of equality and active participation, where every individual can express themselves and contribute to the common good. Social policies must promote inclusion, equality, and respect for diversity, recognizing that a society's well-being depends on the well-being of every one of its members. Ethics from the ground up, building through proximity. The path to an ethical future cannot be undertaken solely by institutions, it must involve civil society through a bottom-up process. The true strength of ethical transformation arises from relationships of proximity, from the network of connections that develop in small and large communities alike. We cannot expect change to come only through laws or centralized policies. Instead, it is through direct engagement and active participation that we can construct a new ethic of social coexistence. The dialogue between institutions and civil society, between political decisions and everyday actions, is fundamental to ensuring that ethics becomes a shared and concretely applied value. The autonomy of local communities, their ability to make collective decisions and build participatory pathways, is a key element in fostering governance that is not detached from citizens but actively involves and listens to them. In this sense, ethical governance must be understood as a process that aims to create synergy between political, economic, and social forces, placing participation and collective responsibility at the center. Governance can no longer be seen as a distant or external entity but as a dynamic process that directly involves every citizen. Toward a new collective ethics. The construction of an ethical future is, ultimately, a collective endeavor. It is the result of a shared commitment that begins at the grassroots level but must engage every level of society, from small communities to major institutions. Ethics as tension and as a goal is both the starting point and the destination of a journey that requires concrete actions, active participation, and the creation of new models of life and production. We can no longer afford to separate economic growth from social justice, innovation from sustainability, freedom from equality. An ethical future is one that places human dignity, respect for the environment, and the value of community at its core. It is a future that cannot be built alone but only through a collective effort, one that integrates diversity, overcomes inequalities, and works together for the common good. Thank you for listening. The future is in our hands. Ethics, both as tension and as a goal, is the path to building it together.